But it isn't the faults that was the basis of the principles that he left me. It was the things that he did right that guided me and eventually led me to become a father and a grandfather myself. One of the things I want to tell y'all is I'm proud to be a father of 3 sons and 3 wonderful daughter-in-laws, are my daughters. I just love them to death. But also got 10 grandchildren. There's a lot to pass down and a lot of people to pass it down to.
That's right.
And if I don't do my job right, you know, they could end up anywhere. I owe them. I owe them a responsibility of teaching them the things that they need to know in order to make it. While my father was teaching me, I could see the picture that he had of the future. And I could see that he knew what the future was supposed to look like for his children. And without using words to express it, I fully understood that I was supposed to contribute to my family in a positive fashion. But not only was I to contribute to them, I was to contribute to anywhere that I was. Told brother over here, he said, how you like where you are? I said, I'm like a weed, I try to bloom wherever I'm going. Wherever I am, God has something for me to do there, and I just need to make sure that I'm on the job.
That's right.
There's a balance. There's a balance that's struck in the world that each one of us affects with our lives. I picture it as like a bucket that's been filled up with people, both good and evil. One day that bucket's going to overflow. So what will the overflow be? Will it spill over into goodness or will it be evil? You know, someone told me once, well, they told me when I was a child, that everyone that lives in this world is using up the world. Every person that lives on this earth will use up some of the resources just simply by living. I was also told that all the people in the world would be consumers, but not all the people in the world would be producers. And the difference between the 2 types of people is usually a matter of character. Will a person put back as much as they use? Now, when we look at the situation that we have right now, we are in deficit right now, folks. We're living in a society, a culture among people who are used to receiving, but they're not really anticipating giving back. And that's why we're running short of things right now, especially morals and character. You see, people have good character in other people, in their children.
That's right.
They have good character in people who they are charged with teaching. And so as a result, the character modem just gets lower and lower and lower. And I'm going to just point that out tonight. Discounting those people with disabled. I found that there are people who are inclined to be consumers only. And these people are generally entitled. They feel entitled. Now, y'all haven't run into them, but the neighborhood where I live and places where I go, it seems like the people are really, they have this sense of, I'm entitled. I'm entitled. And you see, that entitlement thing makes them act like somebody owes them something. See, there's no consideration attached to that lack of equity that comes with sharing resources that's being used up with those kind of people. This type of person feels that the world revolves around them and that anything that they get is owed to them. I don't know if y'all read anything about it. Y'all know about like that? Well, that's what we've got. They almost never consider the impact they have on the environment or the people around them. Unfortunately, much of the depravity of the world today is attributed to the actions of people whose interests are limited to their own desires. What I've observed is that selfish people come from selfish environments. Now, I've done all of that, and that's good philosophy. That's my way of thinking. I need to tell you a little bit about the scripture as time moves on. David, in our scripture, was closing in on the final days of his life. To get the significance of that, you need to put yourself in that position. What would you say if you knew that these would be the last words that you would speak to someone that you love. If you were speaking your last word, what kind of things would you say and who would you say it to? So I can remember in times past when I'd be getting ready to go on a trip or the kids, the boys would be getting ready to go off to school. I always felt like I needed to make sure that I told them all of the important stuff. See, this wasn't a time for small talk. They were going to be out. They were going to be on their own. They were going to be making their own way. I needed to help them by teaching them what I had experienced so they could miss some of those pitfalls. Because you see, a couple times I failed. I skinned some knees and elbows. But a couple of times, life just didn't treat me nice. I want better for them. And so I did my best to try to tell them what they needed to know. I can imagine that David felt the need to tell his son Solomon the important stuff.
That's right.
When a father has experienced in his life when a father had experienced what David had experienced, and it was as dramatic as David had experienced, I imagine that what he'd want to do was he'd want to spare his son the consequences of the mistakes that he made. Back to our scripture. The Bible says, now the day of David drew nigh that he should die. I mentioned that before, and I want us to kind of think about it because that is such a sense of finality. I don't know if you've ever been around someone who are in their last moments, in their last hours. I have. I can remember certain things. My sister, as she was sick with cancer, she noticed everything. It was like she wanted to soak it all in because she knew that it would all end. And so her moments kind of gripped me in that way. I want us to think about David at this time, and he's trying to speak to Solomon. The day came that drew near that he should die, and he talked to Solomon. And he said to his son, I go the way of all the world. Now, the first thing that you say when you meet your own mortality is usually the most important thing. You don't miss it. You don't want to skip over something that's top priority. So the first thing that David said was, be thou strong and show thyself a man. You see, there's a lot in there that we need to consider. Because what he's saying is that weak men are not good for the family. Weak men are not good for the nation, not good for the church. You got to be strong. Yes. That means you got to stand up against whatever comes your way that's not going to be good for the family, good for the nation. You know, one of the things that concerns me, and I'm so glad that we're getting a chance to talk about it tonight, we got to be strong as a body. Men and women. Men, since God gave you the lead, I'm talking to you more than anybody. We got to be strong. I know you see what I see. I know you see the Church of Christ around the country doing crazy stuff and getting weaker and weaker, you know, because people want stuff for themselves. They are foregoing what God wants. We have churches where young ministers are so interested in building up a mega church that they're going to forego the very fundamental principles that we've always lived by. All of a sudden, they're not seeing anything wrong with musical instruments and women in leadership. In fact, mark my words, it will not be too long in the future before some man will come in and he'll want to be the preacher and he'll want his wife to be the assistant. You think I'm reaching on that? Look at what's going on already. We got men must be strong. Men must make the impact that we must make. This is not a criticism, man. This is a reminder. This is not putting you down. The world has done that far more than it ever needed to. Hopefully this is building you up to embolden you. Maybe even make you a little angry. Because when we get angry, we're going to stand up and we're going to be ready to do battle. And that's what the church needs right now. That the revival that we need is a precursor to a battle that we must fight. We must take back the church. We must once again establish the boundaries. We must once again establish righteousness and holiness in the church, and we must stop making it all right for people to do what they want to just because it's politically correct.
That's right.
David confirmed to his son that his death was not to be a discouragement. His words were, I go the way of all the earth. He said, I'm dying, but I'm doing what this world does. The world is spinning. Every day is one more day off the clock. Every second, I've done a sermon I called tick-tock. And that tick-tock, tick is when a second is born, tock is when it dies. And we only get the time between the tick and the tock to do what we're going to do for the Lord. A good father will let his son know that all of life is not going to be pleasant. That death is something that happens, and the only thing that one can do is prepare for it. It takes a predetermined strength to make it when those dark times come. There have been trials that have stopped people dead in their tracks. You go through life, you run into one of those bad times, and all of a sudden you're paralyzed. But I want to tell you, it takes a strength to move on from those kind of things. The time, in fact, the reason I'm saying that, I know there's going to be moments of grief where you can't do nothing but grieve, but think about this. Every second, all the time that you use grieving, standing still, it's time that you didn't get to use to move forward. The longer that one waits, the longer it takes to get where you're supposed to be going. David tells his son to be strong and to show himself a man. Fathers, no one can teach a boy how to be a man better than a man.
That's right.
The best way to teach a boy how to be a godly man is to demonstrate it. For those who are mistakenly thinking that the way to demonstrate manliness is to